Hey,
Yeah,
how's it going? Welcome to another episode of Jacob's Chatter. I'm here with very funny comedian Rob Haze. How's it going, Rob? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just hanging out in hyperspace, trying to figure things out. What's your quarantine experience been like? Or where are you at these days?
I chose to quarantine in Atlanta, so I've been back and forth between my girlfriend's house and my sister's house, and I don't know. It's an interesting experience. It's like, you know, it's not like being home, but it's being with family and loved ones and stuff. But at the same time, it's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like you move around a lot. Like I'm never sure if you're in LA or New York or Atlanta. You're always feel like up to a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know. I have trouble staying still. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm constantly like finding windows to go home and visit and stuff. So I don't know. It's weird for me to just be forced to be in one spot.
Yeah, for sure. Are there like things you've found as like habits during quarantine that have like helped you stay sane, or does it still feel like kind of weird to not be traveling and doing comedy and that kind of thing?
It's fine. It's the Zoom shows. It took me a long time. Like the first couple of weeks, I refused to do anything like stand up related just because I like performing in front of a crowd. Like that's
Yeah,
part of my like that's part of the fun in doing it. And
yeah,
so I really just kind of, it took me a while to warm up. Uh, Nori Davis asked me to do his shows, and I was kind of nervous. It was like I took such a long break. I kind of like had to like get myself ready to do a set again. And
yeah, yeah.
and those sets were like 15.
Right.
Like I I haven't done anything that long since. Like every other Zoom show I've done has been like 8 or 5 or something. But for the most part, I just kind of been like treating it like it's not stand up, treating it like it's something else. Like you know, having bits ready, but being like the pace is faster. Like just rants and lists and stuff like that kind of can go on forever because there's nothing stopping it. So I don't know. I haven't really done any act outs. I haven't really, like done any like thing where I
Yeah.
become another person or a thing or something like that.
I
But
haven't done any act outs either, but that included when I was doing stand up the last 12 years.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wasn't able to add that to my arsenal during the quarantine.
Yeah.
Um I found that I'm more comfortable in the Zoom shows and stuff sitting down. I don't think I'm as funny standing up in front of a camera, if that makes sense.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I've been experimenting with that, either standing up, like sometimes, yeah, I'll sit down sometimes. I haven't figured that out for myself yet. I'm like, do I, like, sometimes I feel like I need to stand up because I'm so low energy anyway that, like,
Hmm.
even though it's probably about the same, like, it just gives me like, if I'm sitting down, I just turn into like a person in a coma or something. Um, but yeah, Zoom shows are an adjustment. Was it like fun? Was it like the longest you'd taken off from stand up, and was it like tough, like getting back into Zoom shows, or was it like once you got
Yeah,
started, it was fun?
yeah. Like I can't think of a time where I went that long. There might have been like a maybe week and a half spurt the whole time I was in New York where I just was like working, like I was just broke and I was like, I gotta work every
Yeah.
day and really didn't get on stage. But yeah, that I mean, I've been doing it about 10 years. I want to say like, yeah, this is definitely the longest stretch without me touching a mic, being on a stage, like for real.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I mean, aside from, I guess I have been doing Zoom shows. So I think for me, the longest break I've taken including Zoom, was it was like a trip I took to India once, but it was like during America's Got Talent, like in between rounds, and I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have taken 2 weeks off before the last round. But but yeah, it's definitely been an adjustment right now. But yeah, you were talking about like not doing act outs, but I was watching some of Sherman's showcase recently, and I feel like you have like some very funny like character moments. And what was it like, kind of acting, but also like writing that show and everything? It was super funny. There's a lot of great jokes in it.
Oh man, like like we had so much freedom. It really was cool how like, you know, then I never felt pressure of like, you gotta do this and we need this from this genre. It was kind of like this is the first season. Whatever you got, whatever you feel, whatever, and the way I end up playing Morris Day was like it just kind of came from a conversation in the room, but I wrote the sketch, and then when we did the like table read, I read Morris, and I read it so funny though, like you gotta do that on the show. And
That's
then
awesome.
it was like, oh man, like, and then I don't know, first writing job, first real time being on camera like that. So it was really cool that I got to be in that sketch, and then that we wrote we wrote that episode the first week, like the
Oh,
first
awesome.
first couple weeks. So then that kind of opened up for me to do so much other stuff. But yeah.
That's so cool. What was it? What was it? I don't think I've ever been in like an official writing room, like other than a few small things here and there. But yeah, what was it like, kind of like writing a TV show in the room versus like just writing for yourself for stand up and that kind of thing?
I mean, it's a collaborative effort, so you gotta deal with like, being around like other minds and other people kind of like seeing work and like um pitching jokes and stuff I think as stand-ups we kind of have the advantage of like we know how to make things sound funny, we know how to like present things in funny ways, but I don't think we're used to like right after the rejection of like you pick something and everybody's not feeling it, that you gotta like keep
Yeah,
going and stuff,
yeah,
like stand up. It's like, okay, the set didn't go well, boom, there's a light, all right, now I'm on the train, I'm somewhere else, I'm like, like I got time to process, get myself together. Like writer's room, you just kind of keep going.
yeah. That's a good point. It's not like a 10 minute set where you're like, oh, at least it's over. Like you're there for probably like 5 or 8 hours or something. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
wow.
But I don't know. I think it's the same thing, but it's different. You know, and from what I hear, every writer's room is different, and the dynamic is really based on the people that kind of make up the room. So.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. And yeah, your album came out recently, not too long ago. That was really fun. I got to see it in person when you were kind of working on the hour, and then also listen to it. It was great. And I was kind of curious, like, or maybe for people watching, like, what I kind of recorded one recently that I'm still kind of editing. But yeah, what was that process like for you in terms of like being like, I want this hour like on tape and out there kind of thing?
It's so funny because like I had planned on recording it maybe 6 months prior, and then because the Sherman showcase and everything that happened with that, I had to go to LA and just kind of was like not doing as much stand up for a
Yeah,
while. And so when I got back to New York, it was like, all right, I'm ready to like record this album. And then I had this like crisis where I'm like, are these jokes even still, do they still make sense? I had some stuff that was like kind of topical, but this week has kind of showed me like went back and listened to the couple of bits that I was nervous about. I'm so happy I didn't like get rid of them, because those topics still keep coming up. Like that stuff still keeps happening. And then, it's kind of like a time capsule of thoughts that, that are still reflected in what's going on now, unfortunately.
Mhm.
And I just, I've reached 10 years in last August, and I wanted to have a body of work, and I wanted to put something out, and I enjoy doing it, but like I don't know. The minute I put it out, I was like, all right, I want to do another one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if other people feel like that, but that's kind of how I felt. It's like, dang, I want to have like 2 albums, 3 albums, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I definitely feel the same way about my although, like, I've been procrastinating so much with, like, putting it out, I'm like now I'm, like, still worrying about it even though it was already recorded, it was a lot of fun, and I felt good about it, but yeah, that's awesome, and, it was so fun to see it, yeah, and when you were doing the hour around New York and then also to, like, hear the final product was awesome. I feel like I met you originally at, like, maybe NACA, like, one of the college conferences.
Yeah, yeah. I was still in Atlanta. We did the one that was in St. Paul.
Yeah, yeah, which is a really fun conference where,
Mhm.
yeah, colleges from all over come to book comedians, and, yeah, you had such a great set, and I loved especially the Harry Potter joke personally, but there's so much good stuff.
Yeah, I already
Yeah.
knew you from Wildin' Out.
Okay,
I
yeah, yeah.
remember watching the MTV2 did a whole thing, and it was like meet the cast a while now. They showed like some of y'all audition tapes and stuff. I think they showed you rapping,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, and I was like, oh man, like that, like of anybody, like I already knew Carlos, and
Oh, yeah, he's so funny.
um, because y'all was on that first season, right?
Yeah, when they rebooted
Before
it in, like,
DC got
2013.
everything, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I already knew Carlos, and I was familiar with Emmanuel Hudson. But yeah, when I saw you, I was like comedically the person I felt like I was like closest to watching that do. And then yeah, and then I got to see you at NECA. So yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, likewise, I always enjoyed your comedy, and it was so fun to also get to later on do, like, Adam Devine's house party. We were, like, on the same taping. We got to go to the island where they shot Jurassic Park and shoot a Comedy Central show.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
feel like it was, like, one of the
that's
most
dope.
fun things I've done, and then I'm not sure how many people actually saw it, but it was so much I was very happy with it and everything.
It
But,
was incredible, and like, yeah, now I see Leonard all the time, and Chris Garcia all the time, and
mm,
Megan Gailey all the time, and yeah.
yeah, that's so cool. Very fun. What was it like, your Tonight Show set was amazing. What was that like, kinda doing, like, a late night set on that level and that type
That was a dream come true. It really came at a like very hard time for me in my life. Like
mhm,
my father had just passed like earlier that month, and but I kind of felt like if I didn't do it, I wouldn't be doing stand up anymore. Like I felt like I would have been pulled so far from stand up that I might have ended up doing something else. Like it just kind of felt like, you know, I I found out I got it like the day after he passed.
wow,
And
that's crazy.
yeah, and it was really tough, but I was just it's something that was a dream of mine, but it was something that he very much encouraged. And like whenever someone I knew had did a set on TV, he would watch. He watched like Martin Urbano on Kimmel, and whenever somebody did stand up on TV, he would watch it and like
Mhm.
send me the clip. Sometimes he recorded on his phone and be like, Dad, it's on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to do that. But still,
It's
he was like super excited about late night, and like from his time, like that was like a big deal. And so it was an important thing for me to do. And I felt like everyone in my Montreal class had already done it. I felt like, a lot of my friends that I started with, a lot of people I did comedy with in Atlanta, that had moved already did it. So I kind of felt like I was the last one. So I don't know, I kind of had a chip on my shoulder. And there was a long period where I felt like every set I'm working on this 5 minutes.
That's great.
Like
Yeah.
before I knew about a showcase or
Yeah.
anything, just
That's great. Yeah, it paid off, obviously. Yeah.
every set, I was just like, if I'm doing 15 at a club, there's gonna be a 5 minute window that's gonna be what I would do on the Tonight Show. And in my head, it's like, all right, from here to the next 5 minutes, it's clean. It's no breaks. It's what what a late night set is. And I just continued to do that until I got an opportunity. I did an showcase, and then from that, I got to do the Tonight Show showcase. Didn't even know I walked past Jimmy Fallon. Didn't even know he was at the stand.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really good point because, like, I think a lot of comedians starting out think like, oh, it doesn't really matter what I do on stage, like no one's watching me. But that, like, you never know, like something like that could happen where I think like one time the Colbert Booker saw me and like I didn't know that she was there at the time, and it's just you kind of just it's great that you were just ready for it whenever it happened, and obviously it paid off and it was such a great set. Were you like pretty nervous leading up to the taping, or like did you just run it constantly, or how did you like get in
I got
the
an opportunity to run it a lot. I was nervous until I got behind the curtain. And then, well, no, before I got behind the curtain, I went to the bathroom. I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And so
Yeah.
I went in the bathroom. And when I went to the bathroom, there was a dude in the bathroom. He was like, man, you about to kill it up there, man. You got this. I was like, oh, man, thank you. And I don't know if that's his job. Like, I don't know if he's just in the bathroom to motivate people or if it's just by chance. I just met this positive dude in the bathroom. It was some dude in the bathroom at 30 Rock that just motivates people. I don't know if that happens, but yeah, I got up there and then I just, it just went by so fast. It was just a rush.
That's awesome. Very cool. Yeah, it was really exciting to watch. And yeah, are there like things that are getting you through quarantine now in terms of like I guess watching or reading things or new hobbies, or I guess I'm like always curious what people are like doing if there's like new things to fill their time outside of stand up and traveling, you know.
I'm watching Mad Men for the first time.
Oh, awesome.
Have you ever watched it?
I have, yeah, you know, but I don't know if I ever finished it. I feel like I've seen a few seasons, and then I think I was watching it when it was coming out, and then there was like a long gap between seasons, and I like somehow got lost somewhere in there, so I never finished it. But everything I saw it was really good.
It's available on Netflix until June 10th.
Oh, okay,
I tell
nice.
you, this might be one of the best shows I've ever watched.
Yeah,
I did not know it was this good. Like I got into it. I watched Modern Romance, an episode with John Slattery,
hmm,
and then looked him up. And I was like, I've been watching Mrs. America, and
yeah,
he was in there as well. And then I was like, oh, Mad Men. Then I seen the girl from Handmaid's Tale was on Mad Men.
yeah.
And then
She's
I'm like,
great.
oh man, I have to check the show out. And then I want to say after the first the pilot is good, but then after the pilot, it's like, oh, this is incredible.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
I love history. I'm obsessed with the past, and like I've most of my introduction of pop culture is through the 60s, whether it's Batman, James Bond, Andy Griffith, so
yeah.
like I know what that era looks like. I know, and so then just seeing that in such an adult context and from such an adult perspective, I don't know if I would have enjoyed it when it came out as much as I enjoy it now. Like I feel like because I've lived a little bit, I can kind of feel for some of these characters' flaws. Like when it first dropped, I had been through nothing. So for me to, if I were to just catch it and watch it, I don't know if I'd have the same experience, or if it would have shaped me in terrible ways. If I were to just become like a horrible person, but I'm glad that I'm watching it now, and it's really incredible. Matthew Weiner does not have a Twitter because I've been trying to tell him, yo, this is it. Like I understand they won 4 Emmys in a row, but I have to tell him how I feel.
Yeah, that's always exciting to watch, like a show that's already out, especially because and it's like you don't have to have that frustration of like waiting week to week and being like, oh, I
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
wait a whole
that's
week to
true.
find out.
I'm a documentary person though. I watched the Hillary Clinton documentary. Of course,
Oh
I
no,
watched Tiger King. Like
I did
you
see
know,
Tiger King recently. That was pretty crazy.
I like biopics and documentaries. So I've been watching Mrs. America and like fact checking different stuff.
Yeah,
Like that's the kind of stuff I've been on. Uh,
yeah, me too. Yeah, I watched Tiger King. Oh, speaking of Elizabeth Moss, I loved the new Invisible Man movie. She was really good in that, and
I haven't watched it yet.
yeah, I liked it a lot. And then yeah, I'm like halfway through The Last Dance, which has been really really fascinating. But
Who was your team growing up?
I don't know if I had one. I grew up in Louisville, which I feel
I
like
know.
you have some family there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah,
Go
so
Cardinals.
I guess my parents met at University of Louisville, so I was always kind of a little bit rooting for the like college basketball was big there, so I was rooting for like I guess University of Louisville. I went to those games once in a while.
It's so funny because when we were real young, Louisville was terrible.
Uh-huh.
And then we got to middle school, and then Louisville was like kind of good. And then pretty much from high school on, Louisville has been like incredible, Because I
Yeah.
remember being a kid wearing Louisville sweatsuits all the time. I'm like, this is then I never see them win. They Denny Crum always looks like stressed out. And then like high school, they get Patino, and then they just start.
Oh yeah, he was great.
Yeah.
I think it was the full court press. Is that what was that his strategy? I don't know. I didn't follow it super closely, but yeah, it's weird. There's a lot of people are hardcore, either University of Kentucky or University of Louisville. So there's a lot of like
Oh
trash
yeah.
talking and in between, even split between families. They're always like arguing about which one they're a fan of. But but yeah, that's awesome. So you were a Louisville fan as well, or?
Yeah, I mean, like, it was kind of like forced. Like, my whole family, my grandmother, my father, like both sides of the family are super big Louisville fans. So it's kind of like I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. In the '90s, of course, I think everybody liked the Bulls.
Oh,
Um,
sure. Yeah, I was a fan. I honestly wasn't like huge into sports, but I was definitely a fan of Michael Jordan. Maybe more from like Space Jam, I guess. But
sure.
I was like
I
obsessed
was
with
just
that
really
movie. I
more
had all the
asking
toys.
if you were a Pacers fan or not.
Oh, I don't know. I guess not in particular. I was kind
Yeah.
of like
Just
so
because I was
ignorant of
thinking maybe that's the
sports.
closest team.
Right, that's a good point. There's not really like a major team right in Louisville, but so is like yeah, I was just very casual. Like my parents aren't really they don't really follow sports too closely. Like at Thanksgiving or whatever, my dad will be like sitting in front of the TV and they're like, "Do you mind if I turn on the game?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." But he's like still sitting blocking the TV because like
Wait, what is he watching? This is he watching the puppy bowl?
he doesn't watch really anything on the Super Bowl. Like I love going to a Super Bowl party just for the social aspect,
No,
but
but I'm
my
saying
parents
on
literally don't watch
Thanksgiving,
anything.
what is he turning off?
That's a good point. I think it's like sometimes there'll be like football games on at that point. He's not even turning it off. He's like, "Oh
It's
yeah,
a
sure,
it's
you
an
can turn
off
it on."
TV.
He's just sitting like not even facing. He's like, "Yeah, you can turn it on." He doesn't realize like he has to move. But but yeah, my parents don't even celebrate like New Year's Eve. Like I think as a kid, one time I came home before midnight to like celebrate with them, and I was like, "Yeah, it's New Year's," and my parents got mad because I woke them up like they were already asleep before.
What?
Yeah, they literally go to sleep at like 10:30, even on New
Even
Year's
on
Eve.
New Year's Eve?
Yeah, so
Man,
it's pretty crazy.
that's crazy.
But yeah, we have other traditions with I guess like Christmas and Thanksgiving. That's most or Easter maybe. I don't know. Um, but yeah, it's It's weird. Of course, weird now with everything, not being able to meet in person. I've been doing a lot of family Zooms, that kind of thing. But yeah, are you like able to? Do you feel like you're able to stay in touch with the same people you were before over like Zooms or phone calls or whatever? Or is it like kind of weird to like not have those? Like, I really miss hanging out and like. There's a lot of people I see. I feel like I wouldn't. I don't see as much now because like I would just coincidentally catch up with them in like the green room of a comedy club or something like that, which is like
You
weird to not
you
have that.
know what's funny? The people who I would see all the time, I see all the time on like Zoom and stuff.
Right.
Or like, house party or,
Yeah.
FaceTime, whatever. And the people who are like kind of flaky, they still kind of flaky,
Yeah.
even though they are at home. And we know you're at home. Everybody's at home. They
Yeah.
still like, all right, we're gonna FaceTime tonight at 6 o'clock, and then like, oh man, yo, something came up, man. Yeah, I can't really do it. Like it's funny how people are kind of the same.
Yeah, they're like, oh, the train was late getting to my Wi-Fi or whatever.
I do miss the hang. I do miss the being able to like New York. You could just pop up places, or like, oh, they're doing so and so's doing a show at night. You could, pop up there, type of thing. Like I do miss that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's very strange, but it is. Yeah, thank God we have all this technology at least to kind of stay in touch with people. But I think that's why I started doing this, just to like really just to catch up with people because
Yeah,
I don't
no, this
really know
is
how else to do.
definitely cool, man. And yeah, I feel like a lot of times we would just I'd see you at the stand or see you somewhere, and we just start talking, and it turn into like a short conversation, turn into a real long conversation.
Yeah, for sure. It's weird to not have any of that spontaneous thing, except I guess I will see it occasionally. Like it's funny, once in a while I'll run into comedians in my neighborhood in Queens because there's in Astoria there are a lot of comedians that live near me. So I guess it's even more. It is kind of exciting because it's like even more of a surprise because you're just walking on the sidewalk, and then sometimes I don't know if it's them because they have a mask on. And I'm like I don't know, but but yeah, it's nice to every once in a while have quick catch ups with people, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely been a weird adjustment. Are you like kind of thinking of this time as like still kind of focusing on like writing for the next stand up hour, or are you thinking about like, oh, I'm gonna write other kinds of things, or just kind of take some time to just relax, or I don't know. I feel like there's so many approaches right now that people are doing.
I've been kind of more doing script writing.
Oh, awesome.
Also, writing on the got like a little writing gig that I've been working on, and um, yeah, like cause since Sherman's, I've been doing a lot of like award shows, and
Oh, awesome. Very cool.
um, I did New Year's Eve, and I did the Miss Universe pageant. I've been doing like a lot of like those kind of things.
That's
So
great.
still working on that kind of stuff, even though it's in a different capacity because it's from home.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure. Yeah, what kind of goes into like writing for a show like that versus a sketch show? I assume it would be pretty different, but is it similar in terms of like you're the one kind of punching it up or trying to make it funny, or is it kind of like its own thing?
it's different because you're hired because you're funny, you're hired because of comedy, but comedy is probably like fourth or fifth priority.
Right,
So
right.
they really kind of need, they have business that they need to take care of. They have certain things they got to introduce. Um, you're dealing with different celebrities, what they would say, what they wouldn't be willing to say. There's certain people they'd be like, oh, I'll say anything. And then they read an prompter and they're looking like, well, I'm not going to give this any like, and so yeah, it's just and running everything by a network, running everything
Wow,
by the
every
people
line, yeah.
who, yeah, and they so it's hard to get jokes through sometimes, but then other times, you get things through and they're like, oh, like your friends and family know, like, oh, this I definitely know who who said that. Like that's that's something
For sure.
Rob says. That's something that that we came up with at the house that we always laugh about. Now it's in a TV thing, you know.
That's awesome. Very cool. I loved the in the first Sherman showcase episode when John Legend is like, people ask me if that's a stage name, and he's like, "Yeah, John isn't my real name. It's I go by my real name was Sydney Legend or something." Like the joke was that he Legend was still. I don't know. Anyway, I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny because if you're a big John Legend fan, you know that his last name is really Stevens and his first name is really John. So then it's
Right.
like,
Yeah, that's funny.
you know, so yeah, it's like a joke. But then if you know, there's like, you know, it's even more of a joke. But there's a lot of jokes like that in Sherman's where it's like, you know, if you doing the pausing and googling, then it's even, you know,
Yeah, I feel like there's a
more
lot of
going on.
inside jokes that I'm sure I missed a lot of it, but there's funny stuff moment to moment the whole time. But that's awesome. Well, so you're in Atlanta now. Is that where you started doing comedy? I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I started in I really started in Athens, Georgia while I was at the University of Georgia, but
Okay.
that scene in Atlanta are like, you know,
Yeah.
right next to each other.
Sure.
So, you know, like my first time on stage was in Athens, second time on stage was in Atlanta. Like
Oh, okay. Cool. Cool.
yeah, definitely started in Atlanta. And yeah, it's kind of bugged out to be back here, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was there. I've been there like I think I was there a couple of times last year and the year before. But yeah, I've taped Wild and Out there a couple of times and then done a bunch of shows. I love the like the Atlanta Comedy Theater was a lot of fun, and then I love Laughing Skull, and I did some improv in some rooms, and a lot of the independent shows are super fun. It seems like such a great scene. But yeah, I feel like was that like a good place? Do you feel like starting out wise in terms of doing comedy?
Yeah, especially the time where I did. I mean, like some of the most amazing people, you know, it's funny that like now the world knows about Carlos Miller
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Tyler you know, and you know, Ronnie Jordan, and we get to see these people all the time. Like we get to Carlos had 2 weekly shows. It's I'd see him if I didn't see him on Wednesday, I'd see him on Thursday, you
Yeah,
know. If I didn't see him those days, I'd see him on a Tuesday. Like um yeah, no, I mean LeVar Walker and Ashima Franklin, like there's a lot of funny people. Clayton, English, Andy Sanford and Dave Stone, like all these people were just like, you know, around and they were all like, you know, like nobody was like they were all around, but then also headliners came to Atlanta. It's still a big city. So you still got to see, you know, anybody who was touring. You still got to see anybody who was like, you know, doing it from any level. You know, there were arena shows, but there were also theater shows, but there are also 3 clubs, you know. So yeah, for someone who was new to comedy and just taking it all in at one time, it was amazing.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, Carlos is so funny, like on and off stage, where it's like I feel like any situation he can just really turn it on all the time. But it's just like being genuine, and yet it's like funnier than anything I would do on stage that I prepared. But yeah, it's so many great people based out of there, like and that came out of there. But that's awesome. Very cool. Yeah, I think I feel similar where I like started in college, but I was in Beloit, Wisconsin, so there wasn't like a lot of much of a comedy scene there. But then I was like doing shows in Louisville when I was visiting there, and then kind of doing more stuff in Chicago, nearish to my college, and everything. How long before you ended up moving to like New York and everything?
It was like 5 years before I ended up moving to New
Yeah.
York. And then I was in New York for 4 years, and then I moved to LA after 4 years.
Wow, awesome. And now you're kind of, do you feel like you're based in one place or it's kind of just try to mix
I
it up?
mean, I'm definitely based in LA. Definitely, like, you know, got bills and stuff in LA, so I feel like, you know, I'm there. But I don't know. This year has been weird because I've spent way more time out of LA than in LA.
Yeah,
even before, because like with traveling and stuff, just I wasn't always home before, and then now I'm just yeah, just somewhere else.
yeah, for sure. Do you feel like it was a big change, like the New York scene versus living there versus like in LA? I feel like I've heard a lot about it, but did you have like a good
Definitely,
experience?
definitely less stage time,
Hmm.
definitely less opportunities to perform, but I feel like it's a good switch if you figured it out in New York. Cause after a while, like, okay, so after a while you're in New York, right? You first there, you doing mics all the time.
Hmm.
And then you start doing shows all the time. And you stop doing this many mics. So you kind of figure out how to get new jokes in your repertoire without them just being in front of this audience that doesn't give you anything.
Yeah, for sure.
So in LA, I kind of found that, okay, you value the stage time so much that you're gonna be productive. Like once you bring something new, it's almost ready. It's kind of weird how like you have such little amount of stage time that you're just willing to kind of walk on the edge and like try things out quicker.
Wow.
But the things that you try out are so fleshed out in your head because you've had so much time in between sets that you're just kind of like, you know, it's I don't know, it's weird because it's just as risky, but it doesn't, you know, but it feels like it's a safer bet. It's weird. It's really weird. Like it's like kind of like once you got a bit, you kind of got it, and then you just got to
Mhm.
kind of file it, and like in New York, you can hammer and hammer and hammer and do, you could do 12 sets in a week. You could do, like by the end of that week, oh, you got it, but yeah, in LA, you might do 4 sets in a good week.
Yeah.
And so the work that you do on your own in between those sets, I feel like I don't know. I think I made more bits in New York, but I might have made better bits in LA.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I do feel like, yeah, I love New York because of the stage time, but sometimes I'm like, oh, LA, there's a lot of great things about it. And I feel like some of the crowds there are just so good too, where like I ended up doing like just being there for a couple of weeks. I was like doing more act outs or things like that where they would just like totally support it and go with me on it as opposed to like sometimes in New York and be like, oh, okay, you feel like you have to constantly prove yourself to some of the audiences. I don't know.
Yeah, every now and then in New York, I used to feel like the joke police were there. Like, all right, like, where's the joke? And I feel like LA, they kind of want the joke to be snuck in on them. They don't
Mhm.
want it to just be bang, 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 But I have seen it the other way where like someone from New York or someone like who, um, who's been in New York for a while comes there and then people can't even handle just the rapid fire jokes.
Uh-huh.
So it just depends.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's interesting. Um, well, cool. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think that was most of the things I had in mind to talk about. But yeah, I guess is there anything that you'd like to get out there, like promoting wise, right now? I hope people check out your album and all of your comedy online and everything. But you did a set recently on Comedy Central that was really funny as well. And yeah.
Oh yeah. Check out my album Hazeopedia. It's on all streaming platforms. It's on Spotify, it's on Tidal, Apple Music, whatever you got, Google Play. Um and also the Sherman Showcase Black History Month special will be on AMC and IFC on June 19th. So make
Awesome.
sure you guys check that out.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, that show's super funny, and I hope people see it. The first season and all this stuff on Hulu. But
Yeah, I think there'll be a marathon right before it too,
oh,
so
good.
look
Okay.
out
Awesome.
for that. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. Well, yeah, I think that's about it. Thanks for doing this, and
Oh yeah. Thanks for having me.
yeah, for sure.